Okay, this is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video is carrying guns in cars. If you're driving, where to place the firearm, etc. Okay, this is something that pops up quite often and it makes me laugh. A lot of people have some weird and wonderful ideas about using guns in cars, but as always, keep it as simple as possible. One thing you got to remember, and I've heard how many people, especially in the close protection business, say we don't wear seat belts, etc. You know what? You're not above the law. You have to wear seat belts in 99.9% of places these days. If not, the cops will be pulling you over, giving you tickets. If you're working with a client, the client's not going to be too happy because you're being pulled over by the cops for minor traffic infractions. Yeah. So always abide by the law. Wear the seat belt. Now, how I've got this seat belt rigged up, I just put the seat belt in its position, clipped it in like so. I'm gonna jump under here so the cross strap is over me, but I'm not gonna use the waist strap. Yeah. Now if I'm pulled over, if a cop's looking to see if I'm wearing a seatbelt, I'm wearing a seatbelt, and this is legal. This is legal in most places, but again, always check and comply with the law. So I'm strapped in. Now, where can you carry a firearm? How can you carry a firearm? Now, I'm big on fanny packs, bags, etc. You can come in and see this. Yeah, fanny packs, this is a satchel, etc. Generally on the seat next to me, and again, I can access my firearm easily. Yeah, this is a full size 17. You don't have to worry about concealing the gun on your person and it being awkward to access the firearm if the gun's on the seat next to you. Again, a lot of this depends on, you need to understand the laws where you are, be it you're carrying with a concealed weapons permit, be it you're carrying with a security firearms license. Always make sure you're in compliance with the laws. So check the laws before you go out and start doing things. So I'm all for having guns in fanny packs, bags next to me. One of the issues, if you're involved in an accident, the bag can go on the seat, etc. So secure the bag. This works for me. This worked for me in multiple places. Now, one of the issues is if you're carrying strong side, if you're driving, and again in this country you drive on the left-hand side of the road, if you're carrying strong side, that seat belt is going to be over the firearm, so that can make carrying strong side a little bit difficult. So this is where, for how many years, I was carrying the gun small of the back. If I'm carrying the gun in the small of the back, to access that firearm, I just need to lean forwards. Yeah, I can be driving, there's an issue, I can access that gun with my strong hand, I can access that gun with my weak hand. So to me, and again, this is where I've heard how many people over the years say shooting one hand is cowboy, etc. Well, maybe for competitions, but if you're actively working with firearms, working as a business, you need to be able to access that gun left and right-handed and shoot that gun one-handed. One of the issues I see with people these days where they have problems shooting one-handed is they've got a funky grip. To me, they got a weak grip. They're using a competition grip. Okay, that might work for competition, but in reality, if you're in, say, a vehicle, you're having to engage targets or use that pistol in multiple directions, that's a weak grip. If you bang something, you can drop that gun. You need to have a solid grip on that gun. This grip might work for competitions, drag queen story times, etc. But in reality, all you're going to do is end up losing that firearm, so you need to make sure you have a solid grip on that gun. Back to positions. If you're carrying appendix, a full-size gun can be difficult to carry in an appendix position. Again, that gun would need to be fitting in with the crook of your groin. This is where possibly carrying a smaller gun, a snub nose, well, a compact semi-automatic, subcompact semi-automatic, snub nose revolver, etc. Moving on to cross draw. I'm big on cross draw. The trouble is with a lot of cross draw holsters these days, they have the gun facing forwards. If you can find one that fits and works when you're both seated and standing up, good. For me, a cross draw holster should be facing backwards. That way, again, the full-size pistol is fitting into the crook of the groin. You can access the gun with both hands. And again, the seat belt is going to be out of the way of the firearm. I like shoulder holsters. If you're carrying a shoulder rig, pistol in a shoulder rig, again, you can access the gun with both hands, and there's going to be no seat belts, no straps in the way. One of the issues with shoulder holsters, cross draw, people say, well, you're drawing across people. That doesn't bother me. I'm all for accessing the firearm. If you can't access the firearm, there's no point in having the firearm. And again, I've said this in other places, if you cannot draw a handgun from a holster or use any type of firearm without being afraid it's going to go off by accident, you should not be carrying a firearm. You're a liability. If you're afraid of guns, if you can't keep your finger off the trigger, you should not be around firearms, period. You're a liability. Now, other ways to carry guns. Multiple times in multiple places, I've carried the gun under my thigh. I can be driving, I can access the gun strong hand. I could access weak hand, but it's a little bit more difficult. You carry under one of your center thighs, depending if you're left or right-handed, I can access the gun strong hand, I can access the gun weak hand. The issue is with that is, again, checking on the laws on your area. Can you do that? So a lot of places the gun has to be holstered, the gun has to be securely encased. So the fact the gun's under your thigh, you could be in violation of the laws. So that's what you need to consider as far as carrying a firearm. The other option is having a smaller gun somewhere in the vehicle that you can access. I have a gun here in the center console. That's easy to access, etc. And I could be carrying my full-size firearm on me, but I have a car gun. The issues is with that, in a lot of places it's difficult. It might not be legal to carry two firearms, or again, can you actually get hold of two firearms? In the US, such things are easy. Well, certain states in the US, such things are easy. But again, in some places, that would be a lot of paperwork to get that gun if you could get a second gun. So it's things you have to take into consideration. Other things to consider is if you're shooting with a firearm, if you have to use the firearm. If I'm driving, if I have to engage a target off to my driver's side, etc., again, you're going to be point shooting. You're not going to be lining up the sights, etc. Types of ammunition you're using. If you have to shoot through unarmored glass, an unarmored door, you know what, this is a 9mm, there's full metal jacket in here and hollow points. The full metal jacket will punch through the door better than the hollow points. So this is where you need to consider that you're possibly going to be shooting through cover, shooting through car doors, shooting through car windscreens, windows. So mix up your ammunition applicably. This is where in a lot of places full metal jacket is just as good, if not better, than hollow points, because your hollow points will start to expand as soon as they hit something. So with all this, you need to practice. Work out how you're going to be carrying the firearm.